Hello everybody, I'm Antonia and this is Noel and we are from Boxtail Soup Theatre Company, and as you can see we are back in our studio. We've been out and about on tour with our Little Grim Tales and Great Grim Tales. We're off again tomorrow for more Little Grim Tales before we've got a little bit of a break, so we're trying to make sure we've got a couple of vlogs ready to go so that we don't have to do one while we're away.
Yeah, and also trying to mix it up a little bit so we're not just showing kind of constant footage of
Theatre after theatre and
seating rakes and a stage.
The same set. But that is what tour life is like.
It is.
We've had some lovely shows, but we thought today we would do something a tiny bit different. We realised that about 2 years ago, I think, almost exactly, maybe it was a little bit later in that year, but we made an Instagram video. Did we put it on YouTube as well? I think possibly we did.
I'm not sure.
Not sure, can't remember. Anyway, it was a video where we thought that we ought to be a little bit more honest. Not that we're not honest normally, but that obviously when you are making videos for YouTube, Instagram, etc., you are showing a side of your life as an artist, and you're not necessarily showing everything because it would take too long and you probably would all get bored.
And also it's really difficult to strike a balance between promotion and showing the reality of the situation. You know, I think there's a kind of social media filter on whatever platform of social media you're using, where because you're trying to promote and show off your work, and everybody's aware of it, but it's difficult to remember sometimes. I think if you're feeling like you're having a hard time,
yeah,
it can be really it can be a real struggle to look at social media and feel like everybody else seems to be off doing fantastic things and having amazing shows or whatever it might be. So to remind yourself that actually the reality of that behind the scenes is probably not quite so rose-tinted.
Is that sort of thing, isn't it, of seeing somebody looking like they're swimming beautifully above the water and then their feet are actually frantically paddling to stay afloat. So it does feel like that sometimes, and it certainly did 2 years ago when we all hit lockdown and we didn't really know what we were doing. So we made a video then about how we were feeling about that really and how it was affecting us. Now it's a different thing. We're 2 years on, we are back out on the road, and while it's absolutely brilliant to be back out on the road touring, it is also quite weird. For one thing, these are shows that had started and had built up momentum at the beginning of 2020. We were selling the shows out wherever we went. They were doing really well. It had not been long since Great Grim Tales was at Edinburgh, so we definitely felt like that show was at a really good place. Whilst the shows themselves now, I feel like are really good, and they're just as good as they were. We've got Ali with us, she's fantastic, so there's no problem with the show itself. We are finding that it's strange to go back to a show after such a long time, but also it's more that it's tricky now to sell tickets. And that's the thing that we're finding the hardest, I think, probably. Is that safe to say at the moment?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, I think it's. It's never been easy, but it feels like it's a real struggle at the moment, and it feels like we've lost a lot of momentum.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Where before we were coming kind of hot off the thing, like you said, of selling out that show in Edinburgh, and going to venues that we'd visited before and having audiences who were, not just looking at the title of the show, but also remembering the name of the company and thinking, oh, we've seen them before, we'll go back, yeah. So you feel like you're not struggling quite so much as you used to be. And then you have this enforced break. And all of a sudden, all of that sense of momentum is gone. And it depends very much on the venue, because in some cases, there have been places that we've been to before where it's been easier, and in some cases on this tour we're visiting venues that we've never been to before in areas that we've not really been to before either, and that is really, really difficult. It was never easy,
no,
but it feels more difficult than ever.
And I think it's particularly because normally Noel and I plan very carefully what we take out and where we take it to, and if it had been our choice, as in we hadn't had a tour that was cut short in 2020 that had to be rescheduled to this time now, we probably, to go to new venues, we tend to like to take a more well-known title. It's why we made Alice in Wonderland and The Wind in the Willows, because they had such strength of title, so that even if people haven't heard of us as a company, which they probably haven't when we're going to somewhere new, they've at least heard of the title and they'll book on the strength of the title.
Yeah, it's fair to say people are more willing to take a chance on a title they recognise.
So for a tour which is made up of principally, not exclusively by any means, but principally new venues, we wouldn't have planned it like this. We would normally have planned to do those new venues with a very, very strong title. And that's not what we've got at the moment. We've got Grimm's Tales, which obviously is known, but it's ultimately a piece, really, I mean, it's essentially a piece of new writing, more than most of our other shows. So there's that factor. And then also you've got the general sort of feeling at the moment, which seems to be a mix of people still not being quite used to going back out to the theatre or out generally.
Yeah.
People being nervous.
Yeah.
And then,
I mean, you've got a combination of things, haven't you? You've got the fact that they're not all ready to come back out again. There's a mixture of confidence in terms of some people are still wearing masks at shows, whether they have to or not, understandably. And then also, I think right now, obviously you've got a big squeeze on cost of living as well. So between the two, I think it's made it more difficult to get people through the door.
And people have got out of the habit. I think people have
Yeah.
simply got out of the habit of going to the theatre. So you've got all these different factors. It's very difficult to tell, for us at least, what it is that's causing the sort of slow ticket sales. We are finding people are booking much later than they ever used to, so they're sort of giving us a heart attack. We're thinking, oh my goodness, this seems like a very low selling show, and then at the last minute they do seem to pick up. Nonetheless, I think it's fair to say that on average we're definitely not hitting the numbers that we were before the pandemic hit.
And speaking to venues, I don't think that is exclusive to us.
No.
You know, the impression that we're getting from the venues as well is that they're finding that sales are down across the board, you know, that it's a general sense that it's more difficult at the moment.
But I think one of the reasons why we wanted to speak about it was partly to sort of share our experience and say, you know, whilst we have had a couple of sellouts and whilst, you know, we are obviously being positive about the whole thing on social media, that if there are any other theatre companies who happen to watch our videos out there, or anyone who's doing a similar job, we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear about what your experiences are at the moment. Are you finding ticket sales are down? Are you finding it harder to sell tickets? Or are you finding that it's great and, you know, it's sort of never been better? We'd love to know what your experiences are too. It's
not just that either. I mean, I think that the part of the difficulty has always been that if you're going to a venue, let's say we're going to do one performance of Great Grim Tales at a venue that is 400 miles away from us, we have a limited amount of means and budget to advertise that show, and it's really, really difficult to work out the best way to get the message out, so that people who not only are people, you know, anxious about going back perhaps, but also if they don't know about the show, they're never going to come. Yes, we can send posters and flyers to the venues, although obviously, you know, we're trying now to use as little paper and print as we can. Yes, we can do adverts on our website, but people have to be able to go there and visit it. So we've tried various things. You know, we've tried doing some Facebook and Instagram marketing. We've tried doing some ads on Google Ads. And although you can target those relatively to the area that you're going to, I mean, you can't be as specific as I would like to be, and you can target them to a certain demographic. Let's say if you're doing a family show and you want to target people who have children of a certain age. When we've straw polled the audiences after those shows, the feedback has been that pretty much nobody, you know, maybe 2 or 3 people in the entire audience have kind of gone, well, I'm sort of here because I think I saw an advert online, which tells me, I guess, that it's, you know,
not worth the money.
No, it's
and
not.
I think that's the other thing we wanted to ask anyone who's watching this then is, you know, how do you find out about shows? Do you find that you check, exactly. you find a company you like and you follow their social media and that's how you find out? Or do you find that you have a venue that you like, you get their brochure or that they deliver the brochure to you and that's how you find out? Is it local papers? Is it word of mouth? You know, what is it that brings you to the theatre? If you've been to see see our shows, what is it that's brought you to see us, and what is it that would make you come back again? How can we keep you? If you've enjoyed our show, how can we keep you as our audience for the future? We know that there are people who've signed up to our emailing list who definitely have come off the back of that, but we're also very aware with that we don't want to spam everyone with thousands of emails all the time. And that's difficult to strike a balance again. At the moment, I feel like potentially we don't send enough emails, but I'm not 100% sure. So any feedback on that would be greatly appreciated. If you if you haven't ever been to our show, but you do follow us on Instagram or YouTube or whatever, then just letting us know how you might like to hear about a show would also be really interested. Or other theatre companies, again, if you think you've got a magic thing that helps, please let us in on the secret.
Yeah, or if you want to share ideas or get in touch with us, or have any sense of ideas for cross-marketing or anything like that.
I mean, that's the other thing we were talking about actually, wasn't it? Was that we all sort of, and we said this I think a couple of years ago in a different way, but that it's easy for us within the arts to either feel like we're in competition with each other or to be working in a sort of vacuum on our own, but really we should never be that way. We should all be supporting each other and helping each other, because ultimately without all of us then the arts scene doesn't exist. So if there's anything we can do to help, or you fancy doing any sort of collaboration over marketing or anything like that, then we're open to any suggestions on that score, because it is difficult, especially when you're a small company who doesn't have a huge budget.
You really need value for money from the money that you're spending on, if you are spending on anything on promotion, and it's then really hard to get the feedback and find out where your money is most effectively spent.
So I think that's probably enough of us waffling on about marketing and shows and ticket sales and things, but we just thought we would have a chat with you all about it and sort of say how we've been feeling, and without wanting to sound negative about it all in that sense. Like we say, it's wonderful to be back out on tour, and even we're very much of the mind that sometimes the smallest audiences are the most receptive and wonderful. So
I mean that isn't to say that the shows that we've done so far have been absolutely great. Like you said, we've sold out a couple of them, we've had great audiences at others. There have been one or two venues where the audience has been slightly smaller, but nevertheless, I don't think we've had a single show yet that we haven't had a fantastic reaction to.
Absolutely, and we've really enjoyed. So. It's more that sense of what it's a survival thing, really, isn't it? If we can't get the numbers in, ultimately, if that continues to happen, then that does become a financial problem. So it's more that sort of trying to figure out the magic key, and maybe there isn't one. Maybe it's just a lot of different things that you have to do all together that kind of come together to make it work. So there we are. I said enough waffle, and then I waffled on a little bit more. But that's just the way.
Typical.
Thank you so much, as always, for watching. Obviously, we posed a few questions in this week's vlog, so please do leave us any comments. If you've got any suggestions, or you don't want to just put them in a comment underneath the YouTube or the Instagram video or whatever, please do direct message us on any of the social media.
Or email us, or...
emails on our website or on our...
Contact us any old way you like.
Any old way you like. We'd love to hear from you. But thank you very, very much for watching. Welcome to our new subscribers. It really makes me smile when we seem to get a few new subscribers every week, and it makes me very happy. So thank you very much. It's lovely to have you, and we will see you again next time.